Welcome back to the channel. I want to show you guys rack focus or focus pulling. This is usually done in camera, but I want to show you how you can do it with some windows and a little bit of plugins. Here's an example from Predator. We got a background to a foreground focus pull. Here's one from Fight Club and a couple more from Fight Club. It's done pretty often in movies and television, but as I said, this is done on the shoot day. So it's in camera. You have to set this up ahead of time. Here's a shot where I grabbed a couple of elements and we go from a in focus foreground to a focused background. I'll show you how I did this. Built this out with this alarm clock just sitting on a table and a JPEG still of these keys. And all the focusing is done on this adjustment clip, which you can actually save to use later on if you want. So let's jump over to the color page and I'll show you how this is built out. On the first clip here, I just took the alarm clock and essentially toned down the color on it. It was a little too bright. Second clip for the key, I used the magic mask on the first node here to separate it from the table background and added the alpha output over here. If you don't see your alpha out, right click anywhere in this open gray area and you can choose add alpha output and this little blue dot will appear. Take the alpha output of your node and feed that in. On our second node here, I just did a little bit of blur and some motion blur, as well as brought the contrast down a little bit because it was just too shiny. So that carries out into the video feed on this green tab. And then for the last part here on the adjustment clip, I have some windows. We have this curve tool on the foreground here. And if I show you the highlight and click on the second node, you can see it's the inverse. I did that by adding a secondary node. If we right click under add node, you have outside node, or you can hit option O, and that will take the inverse. So whatever you do on this first node, any changes you make to the window are going to carry over to the second node. So that gives you less control on the second node, but it'll mirror the first node. And sometimes it just makes it a little easier than adding two power windows. So I'll turn off my highlight here. At the start of this shot on this particular node, I used the blur tool and keyed it over time. So if we look at the radius right here and we start stepping through the shot, you can see the radius increases, and that's how we blur out the foreground here. Now, because we're on an outside node for node 2, I needed to blur the background at the start of the shot and then bring it into focus at the end. I did that with the box blur plugin from the effects library here. So under Resolve Effects Blur, I just grabbed that and dropped it on node number 2 here, and I keyed that over time. So if we look on our keyframes down here under Corrector 2, if I drop that down, you can see box blur right here. And if we go to the start of the keyframe, you can see we're blurred up here at about 0.287. And then if we watch this parameter here in the upper right, it slowly goes down over time to coincide with the blurring of the foreground here. Now, as I said, you can save this for use later on. So because our blurring is all done on this adjustment layer, you can grab it and drop it into your media library, which is what I did right here. This says rack. That's just an adjustment clip, and I actually pulled it right in over here. So it's doing the same thing. So if we grab this rack element, which we could save for other projects or even in a power bin to use throughout your projects, you can always have that available. So now if we go over to the color page, we have these two nodes set up and it'll do the same focus, and you have control over it here if you want to click on node 1 and start adjusting the power window. So you can use it that way as well. All right, that's it for today's video. Just a little bit of rack focusing. It's a pretty cool effect. Used all over the place. Sometimes you take it for granted, but it really does help the storyteller focus your eyes where they want you to be looking. And it's good for reveals as well. All right, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys on the next one.